Let's welcome Adele Lin as our next speaker. Adele is a physical games designer, engineer, and artist. And even though they've been playing games for most of their life, they first started engaging with game design when they were studying interior architecture. So, without further ado, I'd love to see that heart emoji spam in the chat and let us welcome Adele to the stage.
Welcome to Plasma. Here we have the technology to convert star energy to fuel, which is what supports interplanetary travel. As a licensed star catcher, you're invited to this star field to catch as many stars as you want. Our net keepers will hand you a net, and when a star reaches the end of its trajectory, wave your net underneath it to catch one. However, be wary that your actions may have unintended consequences. Hi everyone, welcome to my talk, How to Catch a Falling Star. Today I want to talk about immersive games, using a game I recently showed called Starcatcher as a case study. We'll discuss audience experience, project context, installation logistics, and some tips and tricks. My name is Adele. I'm a physical games designer, artist, and engineer from Malaysia. Over the last 10 years, I've worked within architecture and the tech industry, building objects, environments, games, and experiences. It is my goal to harness technology to create community and social consciousness. My work is charged with magic and intentionality to help facilitate different relationships with each other and our environments. So how do you catch a star? Catching a star is a way of capturing our dreams and wishes. In Starcatcher, some questions I ask are, what kinds of wishes do we want to make towards our environment? How do we think about the community and the concept of ownership? Why does it matter? And what can we do to make practical, usable changes? Starcatcher is a collaborative experience that promotes active play while having metaphorical implications that encourage participants to slow down, contemplate, and cooperate. When the audience enters the space, they're on a planet that is lush with colored fauna. They see a canopy of multicolored stars falling. They're given a net and guided to catch stars. After a while, they notice that there are less stars and the environment has degenerated. Here, catching a star leads to increasing scarcity, speaking to the limited resources of our planet, the dark side of the space race, and a possible dystopian future as the universe's resources are mined. While surfacing some of these larger questions about our relationships with the environment, the game focuses on making the core interaction of catching a star a rewarding and playful experience through highly responsive audio and visual feedback. Giving players a prop and encouraging players to reach out, they move with their full body and even start to run at later stages of the game. The space itself is engaging to be in, which also allows for those who are more cautious about play to still enjoy it. Behind the scenes, there's a collection of systems being used. The Vive and Steam VR are used to place players, nets, and stars together in the same physical and virtual space. The game then outputs to a projector and audio mixer, as well as communicates with a microcontroller and LED drivers to output star sequences, animations, and feedback. Now, this project is in its second iteration, and I would say that this represents about 6 months to build, not including some of the building blocks borrowed from previous projects. With each incremental budget allowing for new elements to be developed. So Starcatcher started as a commission project for the first graffiti games at Play NYC conference in 2017, which was an awesome opportunity to have a dedicated space to build an installation game. For this version, I knew the audience would be moving through multiple games and would have short attention spans, so I focused on developing the interaction and game feedback, keeping the narrative pretty light. One of my favorite comments were, if I could imagine what it felt like to catch stars, this would be it. For the second iteration, this was part of a showcase during my time at New Inc.'s Incubator this year. It was shown at Onyx Studio in conjunction with the Tribeca Film Festival. I knew the audience would be there for performances and other installations, and so it was an opportunity to expand on the narrative and create more interesting gameplay. It was profound to see people share an emotional journey and reaction to overconsumption of our shared resources. For this iteration, I decided to get help and expanded the project team for the first time, spending a few weeks learning how to hire other artists and developers. This helped prioritize the budget on people as opposed to further building out the physical installation. Now, this chart shows the last 2 weeks of the project, and it was a bit of a crunch, but because I spent much more time designing and planning, it was able to come together in a short time frame. It's very exciting for my partner Matt Pinner and I to work with illustrator Sal Chan on the game, art, game designer Andy Wallace on animation, and sound designer Corey Burleson on creating new audio elements. It really allowed the natural environment to come to life and feel truly immersive. Now I want to speak a little bit about install and logistics. It's very easy for the amount of hardware, aka stuff, to add up without you realizing the quantity. Especially in New York City, thinking about transportation early can be really helpful. So create a bill of materials early, which is a list of everything you need to have on site, not just what you have to buy, as some items can be provided in kind. And understanding the space is really important, so you can plan for install. You often don't get long for setup, and so it's essential to understand the constraints beforehand. At Play NYC, the venue did not allow us to screw anything to the walls, so I designed my own truss system. Whereas at Onyx Studios, they had a sturdy ceiling truss and a hanging system I could adapt to. The venue was also a little larger with 2 extra lighthouses, so we were able to scale the piece up by 1.5 times. In both cases, the set took roughly a day with 3 to 4 people to set up, which allowed time for play testing and tuning. One interesting challenge was to be able to match the location of each star physically and virtually. Since there was little time to set up and the positions of the LEDs move over time, I threw in a bonus project for myself, building a calibration level in the game. The stars would call themselves out in order, and I could enter their locations using the controller. This allowed me to hang stars up in a way that would suit the space and then be able to pass in coordinates to the game in under 2 minutes. Another challenge, the game was sharing space with 3 other performances and tracking systems, a mocap and an Oculus Quest. I would have less than 10 minutes to go from a hidden ceiling, LED ceiling, to a fully working system. It was basically like a live show, and therefore I created and rehearsed a runner show during install, getting volunteers on standby and testing out the calibration tool. I ended up being able to show the piece multiple times as the curators and producers had confidence that it could be set up smoothly and reliably. So what am I up to next? With the fundamentals built out, I'm looking to partner with an institution like a science museum or VAM or a ticketed experience to further develop the piece. I want to have 100 people playing together, create custom nets, add inflatable plants, star fragments to take home, and have a fully playable VR universe. Thank you for listening to my talk. I hope you can take some of my experience and apply it to your own projects. If you'd like to play, follow the Starcatcher account on Instagram and Twitter to find out where we're shown next. You can also reach out to me directly with any questions or if you'd like to collaborate.
Thank you, Adelle, for that lovely talk. For those who have a brief moment, if you loved any of Adelle's quotes, remember, tag them with gdocExpo on all your social media platforms and or give us a follow.